going to talk about healing postpartum body shame through pelvic floor health. Now, I have my dear friend, Priya. She is a pelvic floor specialist. She is the creator of Yoni Tone. She does so many wonderful work with women, from prenatal yoga to being a doula. She is an amazing mover and a groover and a dancer, and we're still adding her. And she has so much to share with us around healing the pelvic floor. So what I have found in, this world that I'm in of like helping women feel great about their bodies is that there's a lot of body shame when it comes to postpartum mamas, right? We talk a lot about like, oh my gosh, I've gained weight after I've had my babies. Oh, I am, let's see if this is her. Approve. Yes, approving you. I'm adding you. I'm adding you, Priya. But we don't talk about the actual pain and the actual issues that come up around the body, the issues that come up from pregnancy, the issues that come up from, from the labor, the tears that have, the prolapse, rectus diastasis, all these things that are really challenging on a woman's body, and the ramifications of that, what actually happens afterwards, what happens like 10, 15 years later when you actually haven't done anything about it, right? When your body is still suffering and we just say, oh, I had a baby and that's just what happened. I had this, opening in my belly. And quite honestly, there is a way for us to heal that. And what happens when we continue to have that experience? Oh,
yeah. It worked.
Okay, great. Awesome.
All right.
Hi, Priya.
I don't know what was going on. Hi.
So if you were listening to me as I was waiting for you, I was just talking about, the ramifications on our bodies over a long period of time if we haven't taken care of ourselves right after birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, other cultures, like I think in France, they have like this whole postpartum care for women.
Mm-hmm.
And our postpartum care is get back to the gym, let's get those abs working, right? And it's like completely the opposite of what the body actually wants and what the body actually needs. And being someone who, pushed for almost 8 hours and then had a C-section, there was a lot of healing that I needed to do. And really slowing down the process, and you being really super helpful in that for me, just kind of like being someone there to like guide me and remind me to slow down. It's like super helpful, right? So I'm just curious, Priya, like what actually got you, I don't even think I know this as your dear friend, but like what actually got you excited about doing this work with women? Like what is your like inner inspiration around this?
I think I haven't had a baby yet, but my own personal experience with connecting more deeply inside of my body and my own, I think that we all as humans, even men, deal with issues of shame around body image and the way that we feel in our bodies. And so myself having my own shame around the way that my body looked and not having like the perfect, model looking body. The practices that I learned, which like have their roots in yoga and tantra. I went into a deep journey with that, and having really incredible experiences of feeling more deeply inside of myself, and as a result, being able to feel more free in my body and feel more connected inside. So that then the way that my body looked on the outside didn't matter so much, because I could feel like I could just feel more alive inside of myself.
Oh, I can totally relate to that experience, because it's the pleasure of being in your body rather than the pleasure we think we get from external
Exactly.
approval or
It's like giving
whatever.
yourself that own that you're
Right.
giving yourself
Yeah.
that attention rather than depending on somebody else to be like, "Ooh, you're so hot," or
Right. Yeah.
whatever. Like,
But what is
yeah.
interesting when it comes to, postpartum care around this is that we often think that, okay, we have this baby and oh my gosh, like you're so connected to your body, right? I mean, you are very connected to what is happening. But then
Mhm.
afterwards, you go into mama mode and you go into like external caring for everyone else. Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
wonderful, like just like what you're sharing right here, I feel like is so important. And like what a revolutionary way of thinking about postpartum is like, oh, after I had a baby, I did these exercises to heal my body and now I feel more connected to myself than I ever have. Rather than I
Exactly.
have a baby and now I can't stand what I look like,
Mhm.
and I'm so in mama mode that I'm not even
Mhm.
connected to myself, and that's what often happens, and sexually as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's the time, even though caring for your baby and caring for all of your new responsibilities, it takes you so much more outside of yourself,
hmm,
but it's really time when, I mean, even before you have your baby, but definitely when you have your baby, it's the time to really make sure, like, you have to carve out that space and time to really go in and feel yourself and be with yourself and take care of your own body
yeah.
and your own self.
Well,
Yeah.
what I appreciate, because I did restore your core training, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the exercises around healing. Let's say specifically around like prolapse and rectus diastasis. Um,
Hmm.
they aren't these they aren't these huge moves, right? They're
Hmm.
very subtle, and they're
Super
things
subtle.
that you can do. So it's kind of it, you can talk to it more than I'm going to say, but in one way, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough because they're so super subtle, and people want like, they want to feel like they met themselves, right? When they're doing
Yep.
exercises. So so that's kind of what can be challenging about doing the process of healing your body um, after a baby. And it's also things you can do really anytime, like you've shared with me, like standing in line at the grocery store and you're hugging your pelvic floor, right? So there are
Hmm.
moments, so it's not necessarily just like you have to carve out all this time. There's a way
Exactly.
to bring it into your life,
Hmm.
into your lifestyle. Will you talk a little bit about that, and even maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Share an exercise.
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I find with when you're first learning the exercises, it does take that time of, carving out some time to really focus and get and feel, like take the time to feel what's going on in your core, in your pelvic floor. And I find a lot of women after you have a baby, and even beforehand, but I find this a lot after having a baby, is there's not as much sensation there,
Mm,
which makes sense because you just had this baby taking up all this space in your body. So there's going to be a little bit of time where, of transition time to reclaiming that part of your body and being able to really sense and feel that area with your breath. And even the pelvic floor, a lot of people can't even feel the pelvic floor whether they've been pregnant or not.
that's so
Um,
true.
yeah, it's a really kind of like esoteric place, even though it's so foundational to the whole way that our body
Right.
functions. So it does, in the beginning, it does take some time to kind of feel and sense and learn how to do that. But you could even take like, 10 minutes a day, even 5 minutes to do a practice to really set that time, when your baby's taking a nap or when you're breastfeeding. And then once you have a little bit more of a handle on the exercise, you can do it in more, while you're standing in line at the grocery store. Because they're small, like you were saying, they're small, subtle exercises, but they're super potent and powerful. It's like, I like to use the image of when you look at a tree, like a tree stump, and the circles in the tree,
Hmm.
our pelvic floor and our like deep core muscles are like that very inner circle of the tree. So if you imagine a tree that has that part of the tree as weak or, soft, it's not going to have the same integrity through the whole tree. So these subtle exercises are really, they're subtle because they're a small part of our body, but getting that part really strong in the center, so then the rest of our body can really like rest on that foundation of strength.
Oh, that is so good to hear, right?
Yeah.
Especially because just so everyone knows, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them below so that we can address those. And, you know, if you've had a mama and your kids are 20 years old, you're still in postpartum, right?
Yeah, you can,
You can still have
yeah,
questions,
sure.
right? I mean, sometimes we feel like, oh, I've that was a long time ago. I missed the boat. Actually, no, right? There's always
No.
ways to
Yeah,
heal.
I've worked with women who are like, I worked with like an 80-year-old.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
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 So
I've worked with people more often in like 50s, 60s.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many things I want to ask you and so many things I want to talk about. One of the things I want to address is doctors and how we you know, we go to our doctor and the doctor says, you know, you have rectus diastasis, which is the opening. If maybe you can actually explain that, because some people may not
Sure.
even know what actually that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Diastasis is where the six-pack muscles, also called the rectus abdominis, separate, and it happens during pregnancy. So even if you had a C-section or however kind of birth you ended up having, it's pretty common to get. Some people don't, but I would say I mean, I don't know the exact percentage, but most women I see at least have a little bit of a separation. And basically what happens is there's a ligament in between those muscles, in between the six-pack muscles, that from the stretching of your belly with the baby inside, those muscles separate. And the ligament actually tears. So, you know, after women give birth, so many women want to go back to like doing sit-ups and like getting their core strong again, which is a great, I mean, it's a great motivation. It's a great, like, yes, like you want to get strong and take care of yourself is awesome. But doing sit-ups is like the worst thing you could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because basically the muscles are at a weakened state. So if you imagine these are the muscles, they're at a weakened state. So if you do exercises that are working these muscles, they don't have that strong foundation to really work. So they're just going to start separating more and more and more.
And you get the opposite effect, right? Don't you get like more of the pooch? Because it's separating, then underneath the pooch happens, and then mothers are like, why do I have this pooch?
Or even if the muscles are really far separated. I see women who have maybe 3-4 fingers of separation. When you stand up, because the muscles aren't holding in the organs fall forward. So that's a lot of, you know, I have women being like, what is this? I stand up and it's like falling, my belly, like I look like I'm pregnant. It's hard. Those are your organs, right, that are coming through where your muscles aren't holding them in.
And that's often what mothers think. Oh yeah, this is just what happens once I've had a baby, and this is just what I have to deal with. And doctors will say that as well. Doctors will say, oh, you know, we can do surgery, or this is just the way it is, and that's normal. But it's actually, yes, it's normal, but people like you who are doing, you know, this pelvic floor work are actually healing it. So, you know, a doctor may say, and if a doctor said to anyone out there, like, this is the way it is, and you went through these births, and you had this, and you had that. I've seen, and, you know, you've told me stories, you know, of all, you know, these women who have had prolapse and their organs are coming out or the organs are falling forward, and you've worked with them and they're like, holy shit, I'm healed, right? I'm actually healed. My body is back to, you know, a place where I can feel myself more. And I think it's just a good reminder that we, with the right care, and with someone who's going to guide you in the right way, you know, such what you do in Yoni Tone, is that there is a way for deeper health, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And when other than the physical aspects, I'm curious, like what what are the emotional issues that women have when they come to you when they've been suffering for this for a while? Like what is the shame points for them? Like what do they talk about with you? Where are they suffering emotionally? Or even even in relationships?
Yeah, I think the ones, I mean, I have more and less degrees of people sharing. Some people come in and they're just like, I just want to heal this physical thing. And
Mm-hmm.
other people have more emotional things to share.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest ones that I see are just like feeling bad about how their belly looks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stretch marks or loose skin or the belly coming forward. I would say that's a big one. And then also, I see a lot of women who have painful sex after, like it's hard for them to have sex for a while with their husbands
Mm-hmm.
or their partners. And that can cause, you know, and then also like taking care of a baby and then, you know, navigating a whole new landscape with your partner with a baby and then not being able to connect in that way is really challenging for people.
It's pretty
So
huge.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And if you took the relationship aside, which is a huge thing to talk about, right? But if you took the relationship aside and you were just with your own body and you weren't connected to your body and you had these places that were numb, you look down at your body and you're seeing, you know, your belly open where it wasn't before, you're not feeling sexy, you're not feeling sensual. And
Yeah,
then you don't feel good about your body and you don't feel
exactly.
alive and you don't feel, you know, connected. So that even, you know, adds upon, you know, that body
Mm-hmm.
shame of like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I used to be this sexy woman and now, you know, I can't even feel myself down there.
Yeah, yeah. Or another big one is peeing in your
Oh
pants.
yeah. Oh
That's one
yeah.
of the most common ones. And then like every time you go out, having to put a pad in
I have
a
no
pad in your
idea.
underwear or like two thick pads, and then you feel like you know, like you're wearing diapers.
I have no idea anything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, just I, I just I just want to like share like the compassion and love and like as women as we come together and like Priya and I sharing this, it comes really from a place of understanding and love and compassion for what you're going through and what your body's going through. And
Yeah.
you know, there's really like there's like you said, there's the healing of the body, but then there's the healing of the emotions. And from what you shared, just
Mm,
like your inspiration for doing this, is that there's
yeah.
even a way of deeper healing and deeper connection through yourself. So not only are you letting go of shame, you're connecting to yourself in a deeper way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel that, you know, it also gives patience where, you know, I see people being like, okay, I want to heal this right away. I want to like get my abs together right away. I want to get the pooch out, you know, like
Yeah.
an impatience with it. I think maybe because people experience these like long 9 months of pregnancy, like, oh my God, my body is not my own.
Mm-hmm.
So there's I see often a bit of impatience, but by going into these practices of feeling and sensing yourself more deeply, feeling your strength coming back, even in subtle ways, it's like I see people get engaged in the process and engaged in the like, instead of trying to just get to the end point, it's like, oh, like, and that's that deeper being with yourself, feeling your, you know,
Mm-hmm.
getting engaged in the journey of it
Yeah.
and enjoying
And
it
enjoying it. Yeah. Like
and enjoying it, enjoying your body.
what a concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there
Yeah.
something, maybe an exercise or a tip or a tool that you can leave us with?
Yeah. The exercise that I always start everybody with, which I think is so important, even if you're not pregnant, even if you're a guy, is you can put your hand on over your navel and give yourself a little bit of pressure. And then when you breathe in, you're gonna imagine that you're filling your belly up like a balloon. So you're pressing into your hand with your breath, taking as long of a breath as you can, and then draw your navel on the exhale back towards your spine. So it's just a very simple belly breathing. But by using your navel and your muscles to exhale your breath out, you're starting to engage all of those deep core abdominal muscles without doing a sit-up. And you're integrating your breath with your movement. So instead of, a lot of times people are breathing more like, up, like people breathe more up into the chest, or like even up into the neck, which causes tightness through all these muscles. I'll just show the belly. So I'm going to do hand on my belly, and then so press my belly out, and then pulling my belly all the way in towards my spine. And you can feel at the very end of that exhale is where your muscles engage the strongest. Then as you inhale, you're going to relax and let the belly come out and fill with your breath. And exhale. Navel comes back towards your spine. Imagine you're squeezing all the breath out with your abdominal muscles.
Yeah, it's right towards the end, right? Where it's really, like you can really feel it all. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's very simple, but I can see how it can be easily discounted. I can see the power in it. Like if everyone would stop and do that, you would really feel that deep connection to that inner core. Thank you so much, Priya.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So those who are in LA, oh my gosh, you could have Priya in the flesh. She teaches a prenatal class. She does a lot of one-on-one. And if you're anywhere in the world, actually, Priya, you do a lot of online work as well, right? And she has her,
I can work with you.
which is great. So she has a whole program that she teaches. And of course, they're all going to be very specific to what is going on with you. And as you can see, Priya's such a love bug. So she definitely can hold a lot of space for you. So if you have any questions, I'm going to put her information below so you all can check her out. And then, of course, just PM her if you have any specific questions. And I think we didn't have anyone saying anything other than you saying it wasn't working. Yeah, wait, let's see. Oh, wait, there is one. In the case of a mother who was a dance teacher, still is for years after birthing 2 children, had a very strong core and flat stomach for years, can that separation reoccur after maybe the muscles weakening? She has a big pooch now that she never had before.
After having... So the muscles came back together after having a baby, and then they got weakened again. Is that the question?
I think so. In the case of a mother, for years after birthing 2 children, she had a very strong core and flat stomach, and then the separation reoccurred. Yeah, which would make sense, right?
You can heal that for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
So it sounds like it's something. It sounds like it's something that you continue, right? These exercises are going to be something that you're going to want to continue, just like you have a child and you're going to want to continue to feed them. You have a body after birth and you want to continue to. Yeah, but that's a really good question, Corey. That's a really good question. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a time-dependent thing. It's like any time, you can strengthen those muscles in the correct way at any time in your life.
Yeah, great.
So of course you're gonna, at different times be more or less available to do that. So
yeah, definitely.
You'll learn quicker when you're younger, who knows?
Right,
but you can always work those muscles and heal that separation for sure.
Okay, everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you, Priya, for your time.
Thanks, Marla.
This is great.
Have a great
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.